Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Tails Adventure. In the last part, we continued on through the island, getting quite a few new abilities in the process, and now we're back in Lake Rocky once more, because now that we have the anti-air missiles, and along with some other items that we got at the end of the last part, we can actually now continue on to a new area on the third screen of this place, hence why I'm fast forwarding, just so we don't have to sit through me going through the first two screens in this for like a minute and a half. There is, on the second screen, a path you can open up with the mine to head below, but don't go there yet, because at our level of health, we will die. Or at least, it's extraordinarily likely. And once we reach the third screen is where we want to go. We want to head up. We could have accessed this next area before we even got the anti-air missiles, but there's nothing we really could have done there yet. Just want to head up, and if I believe at this point, just head to the top of the screen. Here we are. I do want to say, well, first off, you don't actually have to go right here. You can go just up to the left and you'll find the same area no matter what. I do believe, as I was saying before, that Lake Rocky is actually the largest area in the game, but that's only because I think it has the most paths that lead to the most areas. Now, I'm going to show this off, but if you actually use your anti-air missiles here, you can blow up this little passageway, which just leads to a room with 4 rings in it, which you can get for health. The thing is about these rings, though, is that if you... I'm not sure if you have to collect them all or not, but if you head off screen after collecting them, and then come back, they'll actually respawn. So there's an endless little thing of health there if you took a lot of damage on the way here. And I do recommend having near full health for this next area, because it kind of sucks. Also, these little purple things, they drop mines, but it's very hard, if not impossible, to avoid them in my experience. I try using extra speed, even though I completely forgot to press the button there, so my bad. But I'm not entirely sure how to dodge those if it's not with that. I forget if I mentioned it or not, but I actually really like Lake Rocky's theme. It's very relaxing. Mind you, as I said before, the entire game soundtrack is pretty good. But then again, it's a Sonic game. A Sonic game with a bad soundtrack is about as rare as a good Sonic game is nowadays. Or at least that's the way the fanbase would generally look at it. And with that, we're done with Lake Rocky for now, and we're gonna head into Lake Crystal. Kind of a strange name. Why not name it Crystal Lake? Yeah, that's right. That name has some murder problems, doesn't it? Either way, Lake Crystal sucks. There are logs and enemies constantly coming at you, and they all do about 5 damage, meaning at this point, I can get killed in 10 hits. There are waterfalls you need to jump over, however, as you notice, I can't jump over this one. This is why you need the extra speed thing we got last part, because as it wears up, the higher you can jump higher. At the very peak of the sound effect ending, that's when you can jump the highest and just get some really good air. It also does allow you to move faster, but just for the case of not getting hit as much, I prefer to just head to the right while doing smaller leaps. This is the biggest waterfall in the area, so try to master that jump. It's actually pretty tricky. I want to say at the end you have less than a half second to get it right in order to make this jump, though at that point nothing can really hit you, so you shouldn't have that much of an issue. Screen 2 is more the same, though now they brought out in these annoying bomb birds from the end of that one screen of Lake Rocky. Thankfully, the anti-air missiles are actually really useful here because you can pick them off from a distance. Admittedly, the Sea Fox is probably the most powerful thing Tails has in the game in terms of just overall arsenal, because it can get pretty good by the end of the game, but you're not going to be using it for that many levels compared to on-floor Tails. Get up there. Here we go. Let's go. Yes. The timing is kind of picky, as I said before, so that's the biggest issue, aside from, just taking a crap load of damage. Thankfully, Lake Crystal makes up for it by being incredibly short, because I think we're actually coming up on the end of it right now. Or at least within the next, 10 seconds or so. Yeah, because once you reach this little straightaway, you're basically done. You're at the top of the waterfall, which leads us into, as soon as we reach the end of this screen, because good lord, this is a longer screen than I recall. On to Polloi Mountain 2, a secondary of Polloi Mountain. And by the way, I show it, but I do go back to Tails' house basically after every level to get my health back. And this is why you need the night vision goggles. Both the screens in this place are dark before using it, and thus you can't see shit. There is lava on a lot of the bottoms of the floor, so you're going to need to watch out for that because lava does a good amount of damage, but there's also a good amount of items here. I want to say there's 3 or 4, one of the two. And the first one's down here, and it's kind of dickish to get, because if you're not good at timing, you're going to take lava damage. Throw 2 bombs, get the hell out of there, and then just use Remobot to get it from there. Now, you might remember the last part, I mentioned that I wish they had a bit of a checklist in the game. This, I guess, is the closest thing they have to it, an item radar. Basically, you use it in a stage, and it gives you some info on the unacquired items. I think it's just like base locations or such. And that's useful, I suppose, but if you already know where everything is like I do, it's kind of useless. I do kind of prefer, like I said, I was a bit wrong in what I was saying last part, because there's obviously, you can use that to find items. But I would have preferred them, rather, to have the kind of Metroid Zero Mission Fusion checklist. Or at least after, like, right before the end of the game, add that in. Because that's just a lot cleaner, and it gives you a lot more freedom to explore. Plus, from what I recall, the item radar isn't exactly the best at locating. Plus, it takes up one of your precious 4 inventory slots, so not very useful. And there's another item down there, and it's actually going to be in a very important place, because you see you have to blow up these 2 rocks to get to it. And I'll tell you this right now, not Rocky Mountain, Polloi Mountain 2 is another one of those areas that doesn't have an exit. And if you want to have a quicker exit, just fall down this hole that I'm right next to. But we're not going to go there until we're done here. Either way, get Remobot out and fly down here into this little corridor to get our next item. Make sure you have him fly here, otherwise you're just going to be walking into a wall for about way too long. To get Fang! Fang the Sniper / Knack the Weasel actually has an item in this game. Basically, I forget the exact amount it does it. It's either doubling or just increases it in general, but it increases the likelihood that an enemy upon defeat will drop a rank to restore your health. If you're bad at the game and you're constantly taking damage, that can be pretty useful. I'm not a particular fan of it though, because I like to have more utilities than being able to have just some slight increased chances, if you know what I mean. There is, for some reason, wind in the middle of a volcano, by the way, unless it's just supposed to be like hot air, but hot air blows upwards, so, There is one more item I believe we can get in here, and it's at the very top of this area. However, to get to it, we're going to need to go through a pretty annoying platforming section, which I'm actually going to end up, I think, speeding up by roughly 200%, roughly? At least twice the speed. Why? You see, to get to the top of this area, you're going to be in the main shaft we've been in before. However, there are these sets of blocks you can destroy that make up your platforms, and almost every single block, aside from those 2 that I'm standing on right now, are destroyable. So, if you're going to be good at this, you're going to need to be able to master jumping throws and flying throws in order to make sure you get over there without destroying all your platforms. It is possible to make it to the 3rd one from the 2nd one, especially, the 1st one rather, especially if you have enough flight meter. But if you're not careful, this can actually be a pretty tricky area, and if you destroy all the blocks, you have to leave this room and come back, meaning you have to backtrack all the way back up here and start all over. Not a fan. It's not the most annoying thing in the world, but it can certainly take a while. Also, this song sounds really cool sped up. I don't know why. Once you get to about the halfway point, this area becomes very easy because from there on out, you have more than enough blocks to progress. Because at this point, you're still standing on all the blocks, however, there's way more than enough than you can destroy. And plus, if you're good at flying, I think you can possibly make it through here from this first area just by making a good jump and a couple of good bomb throws. I do recommend before you head over to the pits in between them, though, that you max out your flight by starting flying and then get to the highest point. I could have feasibly gone all the way to the right and climbed onto that one, but I didn't feel like tempting it. Really, once you're here, though, you've basically won the area. The item is actually directly above us right now, and if you want to head all the way to the right, you can, but all that's over there is a ring to restore your health. This is another one of those areas that you just have to backtrack out of, plain and simple. And there's the passageway to get it, and since, as you can see, as it's a one-tile pathway, Remobot once again shows his usefulness. And our final reward for this area is sort of useful. It is the large bomb, or big bomb, or great bomb. Basically, It's a bomb that can destroy its own kind of barriers, and it also nukes any enemies on screen. I don't like it that much aside from when I need to use it, but it's there. And like I said, if you just head to the right, there's nothing for you, so I'm just going to cut out of there. And now I'm back at Tails' house because I want to bring in the Great Bomb just to, I guess, have it on me. And now I want to head back to another area because, as you may have noticed, we still haven't unlocked a new area, but there's that one in the top left we haven't gotten to yet. It's time for us to head back to Polloi Forest because the entrance to that next area is actually hidden in here. Plus, there's 2 new items we can get in here that I wasn't able to get before. I do believe, with the Great Bomb, though, if you want to destroy any enemies with it, they have to be on screen with the bomb, not on the screen with you, with the bomb being off screen. You actually may have noticed where I had to use the items to get the new items earlier, too. I think there's also another item here I can't get quite yet, but we'll get to that eventually. First one's right below us, because now we can blow up this portion with the napalm bomb. By the way, Polloi Forest is a great song. Bit weird for an early game song, because it sounds very urgent, but oh well. And there's the next item, and once you know, it's actually technically almost right below the start of the game. And it is the Spark. The Spark is another weapon for the Sea Fox. You use it, you nuke anything on screen. And that could feasibly be broken if it wasn't just for the Sea Fox. Because it is, there's now a real point to it in my eyes. You actually could have pushed that block there, I believe, earlier on in the game. I just didn't care to. And fun little shortcut, you can actually head all the way back up to the top left and go the long way, or you can just fly all the way up here and that way we have a good amount of stamina. And I didn't mention when we were first here in Polloi Forest, but you were actually supposed to push this spring all the way to the right. Well, that's a glitch. All the way to the right underneath this thing in order to move up there. But at the very start of the game, you have more than enough flight meter to just barely get up there. And the second item and the exit that we want to go through is actually on the second screen of Polloi Forest, so let's go and find this place. And honestly, it can be kind of a tricky thing to miss, because it's not directly in your path. You actually have to hold to the left while falling down here. Get out the Remo bot, and let him go. I always did find it odd that the Remo bot had some green on him. It always looked like that was a bit of a glitched sprite, but that could just be my eyes deceiving me. Either way, over here we get the speed boots, which allow Tails to run. It's not that useful, because you can't throw bombs while you have the speed boots on, so it's basically just there's a maneuverability upgrade that you can't attack while using, and I'm not a fan. And the exit that we want to go down here is right here through the napalm bomb block, so let's go check out what's beyond here. Admittedly, sometimes the napalm bomb can be a bit picky of when it wants to move forward or just hit some blocks, but oh well. Either way, going to that exit has unlocked the next area, Karen Forest, or Kairon, or whatever. One of my favorite songs in the game, and this area is pretty simple. You're gonna need napalm bombs and the Remo bot as usual, so make sure you bring those along, because otherwise you're not gonna be able to progress much in this area. And there are, I want to say, 4 items in here we want to find. So let's get started on finding them. The big thing with this area is that there's a lot of little false walls you'll notice, which look like there's like rock pillars there, but you can walk almost right through almost any of them. Also, you cannot fly up in this area. So now we have a bit of a puzzle. Remo bot away. Remo bot is actually how you're going to be solving a lot of the game's puzzles. That's a great bomb. Mostly just because he has a lot more maneuverability than Tails does in small corridors, obviously. Either way, we can push this rock, and we're going to need to land it right next to Tails so he can jump on it and jump up to that cliff. Just don't push the block too far away, otherwise you're going to need to leave the area and re-enter just so you can reset the puzzle. And rather specifically, you can now fly in this area because we're above where the wind would push us down. And now I can just walk all the way to the left. This would probably be one of the few places where the speed boots would actually come in handy because you could speed up just this walk to the left, but no, I don't like them. Either way, over here we get Chaos Emerald number 5? Yeah, 5. And so now our health is 60 and our flight is once again extended. So that's nice. And the next item is actually very close by. You're going to want to fly up to where the spring is, then head right. And enter this cave. Fall on down. And you might remember you can push springs. Push this to the right through this false wall. You can already go through the wall on your own, but you can't get past the spring, so you have to push it over. To get the triple bomb, which to me is one of the best things in the game. It's basically an upgraded normal bomb. So the moment we get back to Tails' shop, Tails' house, I'm replacing that. It basically just has a wider explosion radius, and I love it. And with that, we're actually now done on this screen. The next 2 items are on the next screen, so we just want to head back to this area and redo this little puzzle, because for some reason the rock moves back. I blame Troblins. And we can just head over to the top right of that. Well, actually, the corridor's on screen right now that we have to head into. Like I said before, I like that the areas in this game are small, but not overly small. Because that leaves a lot of room for exploration, but also not enough to the point where you can get lost. And I like that design decision. Though this area can be kind of annoying, because there's a lot of false walls here, yes, but there's also a lot of hidden passageways that are basically dead ends that you'll just find yourself walking into and have to backtrack, and that's not very fun. So I'm just taking you directly to the right path. This little underground area is the main hub that you want to be going around, because there are a lot of little hidden passageways like this that lead to areas with breakable blocks. And you want to blow these up, because first off, it gets us Sonic somehow. And we need to blow up some of those blocks at least so we can be able to get another item in this area a bit later on, or at least in a few seconds. Either way, the Sonic ability is actually one of my favorites in the game. You tap the 1 button to roll into a stationary spin attack and then release the zip forward, very similarly to a spin dash. And it can destroy blocks, and it's great. I wouldn't consider it game-breaking, but it is pretty damn useful. And once you're here, break out your Remo bot, and then backtrack to where we found the Sonic power-up with it. Because you might have seen that, I think it was a spring in that little hole there. We can't get that, but the Remo bot certainly can. Head to the top right, and just let it walk from there. Very simple puzzles in this game, but I like them. I guess this would technically be considered introductory to this kind of game, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Place the bomb carefully to blow that up, and then just let the Remo bot go in there to get the next item, which I believe is another thing for the Sea Fox, the Photon Torpedo. If I recall, that's just a more powerful version of the Vulcan gun, but I can't quite remember. That's the one item I'm always a bit fuzzy on. Well, that's one of the few items I'm always a bit fuzzy on. And with that, we're done here, so I'm actually going to fall down here and jump cut back to Tails' house, because that takes you back to the world map. And here I want to get my setup for the next stage. I want to bring in the remote bomb, the, what's it called? The Sonic power-up, and the triple bomb. You're gonna need the great bomb no matter what, so just keep that with you. But with that, I'm gonna end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 4, we're heading back into the volcanic tunnel to find some more stuff in there. See you guys then.